It's time for Wrestling for the Culture, where we take a look inside to see what the wrestlers of color have been doing this week.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this edition of Wrestling for the Culture. I am your host, Brian H. Waters. As you know, you can follow this show on the Wrestling Wrealm or all our social media platforms. Make sure you are subscribed to the podcast on YouTube, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and Anchor. Anchor is also a place where you can make donations. So, Wrestling for the Culture this week. Where are we starting, folks? Of course, we're going to start with the WWE Champion. There's been a guy named good old JR. I'm going to go right into it. Jim Ross has been talking about Kofi Kingston, and he said he thinks that now that he's the champion, he should take a more serious approach. So, of course, I saw a headline, and I did something that I hate. I'm going to admit. Me a big boy, I admit. I did the thing that I don't, and that's just read the headline without actually reading the story or checking the audio. And I reacted. Just said dead wrong. I quote tweeted from PW Stream. But when I read it, I understood what Jim Ross was saying. He was basically saying the hopping, the skipping, all the fun stuff was good as a tag team champion or being a part of a tag team with the New Day. But now you're the guy. You got everybody gunning for you. We need to see you take a more serious approach. So I thought about it, and shout out to my boy Omar. I cannot remember his Twitter name off the top of my head. I know it's OP Kicks and Laces or something like that. But shout out to Omar Powell, of my good brother from ESPN, who I used to work with. And he brought up a good point. He said, well, when you really think about it, and, you know, this is the best thing about having good friends, they check you. And, you know, to summarize what Omar was saying, he was saying, let's not take it for the contest, but let's look at it for what it is. You know, take that serious approach going into these championship matches, understanding that everybody's coming after you. So that's what I did. And I said, you know what? Maybe Jim Ross is right. Now, we know Jim Ross does, in some people's opinion, have some outdated thinking. I'm not denying that. But in this situation, I can understand. And he made it be known. He is a fan of Kofi Kingston. But I also will say this. We have not had a chance to let it play out. What I mean by that is, Kofi Kingston's only been champion for 3 weeks. The first week, the New Day celebration. The second week, it was Kevin Owens coming out there because Big E was hurt. The third week, Kevin Owens turned on him. Now, he made it be known he wasn't happy with what happened with Kevin Owens. You know, after Kofi picked up that win by disqualification on SmackDown, Kevin Owens celebrated and then boom, hit him with a super kick. I almost said hit him with some chin music, but hit him with a super kick. So what we see is, you know what? Maybe Kofi's going to get serious, because he put a note out there on Twitter and he said, you know, I trusted this guy, but now we saw what happened. Now, of course, we see the memes. Kevin Owens turned on Sami Zayn. He was NXT champion. He turned on Chris Jericho. He was United States champion. Is it going to happen? I hope not. I would love to see how serious Kofi can get, but I will say this. I'm happy my man has been champion for 3 weeks, something we didn't think we was going to get ever from him. So we'll see. But this is going to be interesting. I'm very interested to see how this feud plays out. I really hope Kofi Kingston retains the title. I don't want to see him chase, although him chasing wouldn't be a bad thing. I'm just afraid that he wouldn't get the title back. Let's move on. Monday Night Raw. Naomi, as you know, this is her second week on Raw, and another huge win. The first week, she beat the Iconics as she teamed with Bayley. This week, she beat Billie Kay by herself. So, what's going to happen? Is Naomi going to get a tag partner and challenge for those tag team championships? I would certainly love to see it. I mean, she's got victories over the Iconics. And I know people are saying, oh, the belts don't mean anything if they keep losing. This is the whole thing about being iconic. They may lose in a singles match, but when they're together and the tag titles on the line, they'll find a way to retain. But this show isn't about the Iconics. So, also, moving on. Booker T, folks. I encourage you out on the YouTube land after you finish watching this, check out Booker T's his radio show. I don't want to call it a podcast. Radio show is brought to you by ESPN in the Houston area. He had Hulk Hogan Now, everybody knows I'm a huge Hulkamaniac. Huge Hogan fan, always will be. And that's what it is. You don't like it, oh well. You have your right, I have mine. But they talked about the situation. And Hogan admitted, the thing he hated was being labeled a racist. They even talked about, Hulk Hogan, I'm coming for you. They talked about that. First time ever they talked about it. They've been friends for all these years. So it's definitely a good listen. Check it out. It's good to see Hogan back. I've said that time and time again. Glad to see him forgive. I know a lot of fans won't forgive him. They're going to hold up their middle finger every time he's out there. You will not find that comment from Brian H. Waters. Shout out to Hulk Hogan, who follows the Wrestling Realm on Twitter. And if you don't, you should too. So let's move on to the indies. Starting off with Barrington Hughes, folks. As you can see right there, I got this from his Instagram, and still is the Full Throttle heavyweight champion. Congratulations to Barrington Hughes. Little sad note, not as in death, but Jazz had to forfeit the NWA Women's World's Championship. She said due to some health reasons and some personal reasons, she was, forfeiting the title. It sucks because Jazz is one of those people that you want to see. Whoever would beat her would be a automatic big deal. Because of the fact, you just took out Jazz or you just pinned Jazz. That automatically makes you a big deal. So, unfortunately, we didn't get to see her pass the torch. But most importantly, we're rooting that she is back to 100% good health. Whether she gets in the ring or not, I just want to see her healthy. I had the honor and privilege of meeting Jazz at RCW back in 2012. And she was such a phenomenal person. I even went to dinner with her and some friends and just got the chance to just talk about wrestling and talk about the business. We also talked, Scandal. Yeah, we talked Scandal. What was the big show out around time? It wasn't Game of Thrones. It was the show that they took aces and eights out of. Whatever that is, they talked about that. Oh, Sons of Anarchy. Yeah, so I didn't watch Sons of Anarchy, but, it was cool getting a chance to sit there and talk with her. Like, I was, right across from her. It was like, wow, this is somebody who I didn't root for all the time because I was a huge Trish Stratus fan, and she came in and beat her. But, nonetheless, it was really cool. So I'm definitely praying that Jazz gets better. So, let's move on. S. Royal. The homie S. Royal, Shalandra Royal, I hope I said her name right, is the new Spinebuster Gladiator champion. She won it via 24/7 rules. So I got this off her Instagram. So shout out to her getting it done for the culture. And then in a BPW title match, the OJMO, I hope I said that right, or the OJMO defeats Chris Ridgway. So congratulations to him retaining the BPW title. And then moving on to WSU. So we had some of my good buddies make their debuts. So I'm happy for them. But before we get into those, we saw Aja Pereira officially become the #1 contender for the Spirit Championship. I believe that title is still held by Jordan Grace. If I'm not mistaken, she beat Kiera Hogan. And if not, I apologize. I used to work for WSU, so, I'm always, even though I don't work there anymore, I'm always trying to keep an eye on the product. Most importantly, the girls are getting the opportunities, and that's what I'm more concerned about. Shout out to Ruthless Lala. You heard her right here on Break It Down with Brian H. Well, I shouldn't say right here because it's Wrestling for the Culture, but you heard her on the show, and if you haven't, make sure you check out that interview on wherever you can get your podcast from. She had they had 2 shows this weekend. She went undefeated in her debut. One of the wins coming over Nevaeh Chantel. And then, of course, my homie Ariella Nix. You saw her on the cover of this week's episode, defeating Nina Monet. So Ariella Nix finally getting her opportunity to be at WSU, and she made the most of it. So obviously, I'm so happy and proud of her. So let's move on to, if this computer gets going, let's move on to the Black Wrestling Alliance as they present Black Gold. Make sure you check out the Black Wrestling Alliance on Instagram at simply Black Wrestling Alliance. Shout out to my boy out there, my boy A Dazzle, doing it big, always well over, 5-digit amount of followers. He might be in the 6 digits, forgive me, but always spotlighting the black wrestlers. And like I said, he's definitely been an inspiration. It's great that we can collab on some things. So he's got some heat up there. When I mean heat, not heat is in he has heat, but people have heat, and I don't want to talk about heat, so I'm going to send you there to see what the heat is. Nonetheless, we got new champions last week, so, these are the ones that I may have missed. I did get some of them on last week's episode. So here are the new champions. We start off with Rampage Brown, the new 2-time Defiant World Champion. So congratulations to him. He won it back from Leeds in his hometown Tuesday, just 2 months after losing, which ended in a 322-day reign as champion. He is also the 3-count wrestling champion. We got D-Rogue is now the National Pro Wrestling League champion. Congratulations to D-Rogue. Mia Cortez is the new Phoenix Wrestling Association Community Champion. So congratulations to Nina Cortez, the Goddess of Dragons, also holds the KWA Women's Championship. And then we move on. More title changes in the UK. So I don't get a chance to get all the UK stuff. This is why I love Black Wrestling Alliance based out of the UK, because he lets us know about the wrestlers of color and what they're doing over there. Warren Banks wins the Hope Wrestling Hardcore Championship. And then Sebastian Cage makes history by becoming Pro Wrestling Magic's first ever junior heavyweight champion. So Sebastian Cage becomes Pro Wrestling Magic's first ever junior heavyweight champion. And then last but certainly not least, the Street Fighter David Ali is once again the NCW Junior Heavyweight Champion. So congratulations to David Ali. So that's going to do it this week, ladies and gentlemen, for this episode of Wrestling for the Culture. As you can see, if you're on YouTube, or make sure you get on there and follow us, hit the subscribe button down low, but you also see other places you can get the Wrestling Realm, included Spotify, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and make sure you follow us on Twitter at Wrestling Realm. Make sure you like the Facebook fan page. Just search the Wrestling Realm, like the fan page, and join the group. And of course, last but certainly not least, follow the real Dwayne Allen at Dwayne Allen 24 and myself at Brian H. Waters. Until the next time, folks, so long, everybody. Hey, guys, thank you for tuning in to this episode of Wrestling for the Culture. If you like what you see, go ahead and hit subscribe down below, and make sure you check out other content brought to you by myself and the real Dwayne Allen.